Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something that most of us tend to avoid: why people might secretly hate you. It's not an easy conversation to have, but I believe it's essential to look at ourselves with honesty and humility. We've all been in situations where someone's cold demeanor or avoidance of us leaves us confused and hurt. We might be left wondering, what did I do wrong? Often we are unaware of the little things we do that contribute to these feelings. These hidden reasons, things that aren't always visible to us, shape the dynamics of our relationships and affect how we're perceived by others. So let's break it down. I'm not here to shame you, but to help you understand. When we can truly reflect on our behavior, we empower ourselves to show up in a way that invites connection and trust. When we think about vulnerability, we often associate it with weakness or being exposed, and that fear can prevent us from allowing ourselves to be vulnerable with others. It's easier to hide behind our achievements, our success, or even our social masks. We might think that if we show our true selves, if we let others see our imperfections, our fears, or our insecurities, they will reject us, and the walls we build around ourselves will come crashing down. So we keep those walls up and allow only carefully curated versions of ourselves to be seen by others. But in doing so, we inadvertently distance ourselves from the very people we want to connect with. When we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we come across as closed off, and the energy we project is one of detachment. It's like we're saying, I'm too perfect to need anyone, or I don't need help, I have everything figured out. And even if that's not what we mean, it's often what others hear. People long to feel connected, and they want to see the real you. The real you, with all your flaws, your mistakes, your doubts, and your dreams. Vulnerability is not about showing weakness, it's about showing your authentic humanity. If we aren't open about our struggles or don't allow others to see that we too have moments of fear or failure, we rob others of the opportunity to connect with us on a deeper level. When people only see a version of ourselves that's polished or perfect, they can feel like they can never reach us, or that they are somehow unworthy of the real us. It creates an invisible distance, a gap that we might not even realize exists, but is felt by everyone around us. The irony is that when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we actually create stronger connections with those we care about because we allow them to see us for who we truly are. Vulnerability doesn't mean telling everyone everything or oversharing personal details in an inappropriate way. It means giving others the opportunity to see our full selves, to experience our genuine emotions, and to understand that we too are navigating the same struggles and uncertainties. When we do this, we invite others into our lives in a meaningful way and allow them to show up for us, just as we can show up for them. But this can only happen if we take the risk of being vulnerable. It's a risk that can be incredibly uncomfortable, but it is also the key to true connection. Arrogance often comes from a place of insecurity or fear. When we feel unsure of ourselves or our worth, we may overcompensate by projecting an image of superiority as though we have to prove that we are better than everyone else. This can manifest in a variety of ways, whether through dismissing others' ideas, belittling their achievements, or constantly reminding them of our own successes. It's a defense mechanism that shields us from vulnerability, but ultimately leaves us isolated. While arrogance might offer us a temporary feeling of control or power, it shuts down the very connections that could help us grow and achieve our true potential. People are more likely to be drawn to us when we show humility and recognize the value in others. But when arrogance takes center stage, it can create an invisible barrier that pushes people away. Instead of lifting others up, it makes them feel small, overlooked, or inferior. The truth is, people are not going to resent you for your achievements or your talents. They will resent how you make them feel in comparison. When we flaunt our success or act as though we are above others, we disconnect ourselves from the support and collaboration that could propel us even further. True greatness comes not from elevating ourselves above others, but from lifting everyone around us. Arrogance creates a narrative where only one person's voice is heard while others are silenced or diminished. It keeps us locked in competition rather than fostering teamwork and mutual respect. People are not going to gravitate towards someone who constantly needs to be the center of attention. And they're certainly not going to want to help someone who makes them feel lesser. The more we focus on ourselves and how we appear, the less room we leave for genuine growth and collaboration. When we let go of arrogance, we create space for others to shine. Instead of always needing to prove ourselves, we can engage with others in a way that honors their contributions. We realize that success is not a zero-sum game. It's not about having more than others, but about reaching our collective potential together. We begin to see that our worth doesn't come from being better than someone else, but from being the best version of ourselves and encouraging others to do the same. When we fail to acknowledge or appreciate the people around us, we create a sense of disconnection that can lead to resentment. Everyone has an innate need to feel seen and valued, and when we overlook others or take them for granted, we inadvertently make them feel invisible. It's easy to get caught up in our own lives, to focus on our own challenges, and forget that those around us are also navigating their own struggles. But the truth is, when we don't recognize the efforts and contributions of others, we create an environment where people feel unimportant, and that can breed bitterness over time. Appreciation isn't just about saying thank you or giving compliments. It's about being present and acknowledging someone's effort, their time, or their impact on our lives. People want to feel like their contributions matter, whether it's in their work, their relationships, or even in small everyday acts. When we don't make that effort to show gratitude, it can feel like we're taking people's time, energy, or kindness for granted. And that can lead to frustration and a sense of being undervalued. Acknowledging others builds trust and strengthens relationships. It doesn't require grand gestures or elaborate praise, but simply a genuine recognition of someone's value. It might be a small note of thanks, a word of encouragement, or a moment of understanding. When we fail to do this, people start to feel like they don't matter in our eyes, and over time, that can erode the foundation of the connection we share with them. When we neglect to show appreciation, it's often because we're so focused on our own needs and desires that we forget the importance of giving back. It can also come from a place of entitlement, where we assume that people should do things for us without expecting anything in return. But relationships are built on mutual respect, and that respect is shown through acknowledgement. We don't just need people to be there for us, we need to show up for them as well. By taking the time to recognize the value others bring to our lives, we create a space for deeper, more meaningful connections to flourish. Unpredictability in behavior creates an atmosphere of uncertainty and discomfort for those around us. When we constantly change how we react, whether emotionally or mentally, it becomes difficult for people to know where they stand with us. One moment we may be calm and open, and the next we may be distant or irritated. This inconsistency can make relationships feel like a roller coaster ride, exciting at first, but ultimately draining and exhausting. People need stability and reliability in their interactions. They need to know that their responses and actions won't be met with unexpected anger, confusion, or indifference. When we are unpredictable, others are left walking on eggshells, unsure of how to engage with us or how to respond. This creates a barrier to genuine connection because people feel that they cannot truly trust us. They might question if we really care or whether we value the relationship, because the foundation of trust begins to erode when behavior becomes erratic. It's not just about reacting to specific situations, but about showing consistency in how we communicate, how we treat others, and how we navigate conflicts. This unpredictability doesn't just affect our relationships, it affects our ability to grow and learn from those around us. If people never know which version of us they are going to encounter, it can be hard for them to offer the support, feedback, or honesty that we need in order to improve. We can't expect people to engage with us in a meaningful way if they're constantly trying to figure out what kind of response they will get from us. It's like trying to have a conversation with someone who shifts their tone every few minutes. It's hard to focus on the message when you're so caught up in trying to decipher the mood. Being unpredictable is often a defense mechanism. It's a way to protect ourselves from being vulnerable or from being hurt. But in doing so, we create an environment of discomfort that makes it harder for others to engage with us authentically. People are drawn to consistency. They need to know that no matter what happens, they can rely on us to be steady in our reactions and open in our communication. The more we can offer stability, the more we open the door to trust and connection. Without it, relationships begin to unravel, and we find ourselves disconnected, not because of what we've done, but because of the instability we've introduced. When we refuse to apologize or take ownership of our mistakes, we unknowingly create a divide between ourselves and others. Apologies are not just about saying the words, "I'm sorry." They are about acknowledging the impact of our actions on someone else and recognizing the hurt we may have caused. When we refuse to do this, we make it harder for others to trust us and harder for them to see us as accountable, empathetic individuals. People need to know that we are willing to own up to our actions and that we take responsibility when we fall short. Without this, it feels like we are placing the blame elsewhere or denying the effect our behavior has had. The inability to apologize stems from a place of pride or fear of looking weak, fear of being judged, or fear of admitting that we are flawed. But in truth, refusing to apologize doesn't make us strong or invulnerable. It makes us appear disconnected and unwilling to learn from our mistakes. People are not perfect, and they don't expect perfection from others. What they do expect, however, is honesty and accountability. When we can't bring ourselves to apologize, we communicate that the other person's feelings don't matter, that we are not interested in reconciliation, and that we are above admitting fault. The longer we hold on to our refusal to apologize, the greater the distance between us and those around us. People will begin to feel that we don't respect them enough to recognize their pain or the consequences of our actions. It's not about admitting guilt, it's about acknowledging the emotional impact and showing that we care enough to make amends. Without this, resentment starts to grow and trust begins to crumble. When we fail to own our mistakes, we also miss an opportunity for growth. We are all works in progress, and it's through our mistakes that we learn, evolve, and build stronger relationships. But if we refuse to reflect on our actions and the harm they've caused, we stun our own personal growth. It's through taking responsibility that we gain wisdom, compassion, and the ability to show up differently next time. People want to see that we are willing to grow and that we are not too proud to admit when we've made a mistake. Denying this growth or deflecting responsibility keeps us stuck in old patterns and makes it difficult to move forward in any meaningful way. When we turn everything into a competition, we inadvertently create an environment where collaboration and connection are pushed aside in favor of comparison and rivalry. While a healthy sense of competition can motivate us to push ourselves and strive for excellence, constantly making everything a contest leaves little room for mutual support and shared growth. People need to feel that they are valued for who they are and what they bring to the table, not just how they measure up to others. When every interaction becomes a race to be the best, the focus shifts from personal growth and collective success to individual achievement at any cost. This mindset of constant competition can breed feelings of inadequacy in others. It's easy to become consumed by the desire to outdo someone else, but in doing so, we risk alienating those around us. If we're always focused on being ahead, others may feel like they are constantly falling short, and this can lead to feelings of frustration and resentment. Instead of fostering healthy relationships where people feel seen and supported, we create an atmosphere of tension and rivalry. Rather than lifting others up, we can inadvertently make them feel like they are obstacles to our own success rather than allies. A competitive mindset also stifles creativity and innovation. When we are constantly worried about outshining others, we become less open to new ideas or alternative ways of thinking. We start to view others' success as a threat instead of a learning opportunity. In the process, we lose the chance to collaborate, to learn from each other, and to build something that is greater than the sum of its parts. True progress doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when people come together and share their strengths, ideas, and experiences. Moreover, constant competition can lead to burnout. It's exhausting to live in a state of perpetual comparison, where every achievement feels insufficient unless it surpasses someone else's. This kind of mentality can drain us emotionally and mentally as we find ourselves in a never-ending cycle of trying to be better, faster, or more successful than those around us. Instead of enjoying our successes and celebrating the accomplishments of others, we become consumed with the idea that it's never enough. When we stop making everything a competition, we allow space for collaboration, connection, and mutual respect. We realize that success is not a limited resource, it's something that we can all achieve, each in our own unique way. By embracing the strengths and contributions of others, we build a foundation where everyone can grow together. Rather than competing for recognition, we learn to celebrate each other's victories and understand that their success doesn't diminish ours. When we take more than we give, we begin to create an imbalance in our relationships that leads to feelings of resentment and exhaustion. In any relationship, whether personal or professional, there must be a sense of reciprocity for the connection to feel meaningful and sustainable. If we constantly take, whether that means taking time and emotional energy, support, or resources without offering anything in return, it can leave the other person feeling drained and unappreciated. Over time, this one-sided dynamic can create a deep sense of frustration because people need to feel that their efforts and sacrifices are acknowledged and valued. This imbalance often stems from an unconscious habit of focusing on our own needs without considering the needs of others. We might be caught up in our own struggles or desires, so much so that we fail to notice how much we are relying on those around us. While it's natural to ask for help or support when we need it, consistently leaning on others without offering anything back can cause emotional fatigue and even lead to a breakdown in the relationship. It's not that people mind giving, but they also need to feel that their contributions are being reciprocated, that their time, effort, and care matter too. People who are always in a position of giving can start to feel like they are being taken advantage of. They may start to feel that their emotional energy, resources, or kindness are being exploited rather than appreciated. The feeling of being constantly on call without receiving anything in return can erode trust and goodwill. The giver begins to question whether the relationship is truly equal or if it's simply a means for the other person to benefit without offering anything of value in return. This imbalance doesn't just affect the person on the receiving end, it affects us too. When we take more than we give, we deny ourselves the opportunity to practice gratitude, generosity, and empathy. Giving is a crucial part of healthy relationships. It fosters connection and strengthens bonds. When we fail to give, we miss out on the deeper satisfaction that comes from supporting others, offering help, or simply being present in their lives. We also rob ourselves of the chance to grow in the ways that giving requires, developing patience, humility, and understanding. Ultimately, when we take more than we give, we prevent the relationship from flourishing. We create an environment where the connection is fragile because it is built on a foundation of unmet needs and unreciprocated actions. Relationships thrive when there is a balance of give and take where both parties feel seen, valued, and supported. Only then can trust deepen, respect grow, and bonds strengthen. When we constantly insist on being right, we create a dynamic where others feel dismissed, invalidated, or even invisible. This need to always prove that we are correct often stems from an inner fear of being wrong, fear of looking weak, or fear of losing control. But what we don't realize is that this desire to be right can damage our relationships and prevent us from learning and growing. When we make everything about proving our correctness, we close ourselves off from the possibility of seeing things from another perspective. We stop listening and start dominating the conversation with our own point of view, assuming that our way is the only valid one. This constant insistence on being right can also create a tense atmosphere where others begin to shut down, unwilling to engage or share their own thoughts for fear of being judged or corrected. People don't want to feel like they are constantly in competition with someone who refuses to acknowledge that there might be other valid perspectives. When we refuse to consider the viewpoints of others, we create an environment where open communication and mutual respect are stifled. People start to feel that their ideas are not valued or appreciated, and this can lead to a sense of isolation or resentment. Additionally, the need to always be right often comes at the cost of humility. Humility is the ability to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers, that we can learn from others, and that sometimes we are wrong. But when we cling tightly to the idea that we must always be right, we lose the opportunity to reflect on our own limitations and grow from them. It becomes a cycle of self-justification, where we defend our actions or beliefs to the point of dismissing any constructive feedback or alternative viewpoints. In doing so, we deprive ourselves of the wisdom and insights that come from being open to other perspectives. Being right all the time also places an undue burden on the people around us. They begin to feel like their input doesn't matter, that their perspectives are less important, or that their opinions are only valuable if they align with ours. Over time, this can lead to a breakdown in trust and communication. People may stop engaging with us altogether, not because they don't care, but because they don't feel heard or respected. A relationship where one person is constantly trying to prove they are right is a relationship where true collaboration and understanding are impossible. It's important to recognize that being right is not the goal of a healthy relationship. Connection, understanding, and growth are. When we let go of the need to always be right, we create space for others to share their thoughts and experiences freely. We invite dialogue not as a battleground for proving superiority, but as an opportunity for mutual learning. Being willing to admit when we are wrong not only shows strength, but it also deepens trust and opens the door for deeper, more meaningful connections. Creating drama in our lives often comes from a need for attention, control, or a desire to feel important. It's easy to fall into patterns where we stir up conflict, exaggerate situations, or escalate minor issues into full-blown crises. In many cases, this behavior comes from a place of insecurity where we feel that without the chaos, we might not be noticed or valued. But the reality is, drama does not build connection, it breaks it down. People who are constantly surrounded by turmoil feel drained and anxious, as they never know what to expect next. The emotional roller coaster becomes exhausting for both the person creating the drama and those who are forced to navigate it. When we create drama, we often do so by drawing others into conflicts or making situations more complicated than they need to be. Instead of addressing issues calmly or rationally, we escalate them, looking for validation or an emotional payoff. This constant state of high intensity not only disrupts our own peace, but also destabilizes our relationships. Others start to feel like they are always walking on eggshells, unsure of when the next flare-up will occur. Instead of fostering healthy communication, we create an environment where everyone is caught up in unnecessary emotional turmoil. This tendency to create drama can also result from an underlying fear of being ignored or unimportant. We may feel that the quieter, more stable aspects of life don't give us the attention we crave. So instead of seeking healthy ways to engage with others, we stir up conflict or generate drama to feel alive or to feel noticed. While it might give us a temporary rush or momentary validation, the long-term consequences are far more damaging. Drama can drive people away because they begin to feel that the relationship is too unpredictable or emotionally taxing to maintain. The truth is, when we create drama, we not only harm our relationships, but also our own well-being. constantly being wrapped up in conflict or emotional volatility leaves little room for true connection, understanding, or growth. People who thrive on drama often struggle with self-regulation and emotional stability. They may crave the highs of conflict or drama, but fail to recognize that this leaves them stuck in a cycle of emotional exhaustion. In relationships, this creates a toxic environment where real issues are buried under layers of chaos, and the true needs of each person are left unaddressed. Additionally, drama can overshadow the moments of genuine joy and connection. When everything is an emergency or a catastrophe, it becomes difficult to appreciate the simple, calm moments of life. Instead of enjoying shared experiences, we are constantly focused on the next crisis or emotional outburst. Drama consumes energy that could be better spent fostering trust, understanding, and meaningful connections. Rather than strengthening relationships, we create walls, making it more difficult to connect on a deeper level. The more drama we create, the less space there is for true emotional intimacy and support. In conclusion, it's important to recognize that the behaviors we exhibit, whether it's arrogance, unpredictability, or an inability to acknowledge our mistakes, can have a profound impact on the relationships around us. When we take more than we give, or when we constantly strive to be right, we build walls between ourselves and the people who matter most. Relationships require trust, humility, and a willingness to be vulnerable. And when we fail to show up in these ways, we risk losing the very connections that bring us meaning and growth. However, the good news is that we have the power to change. By becoming more mindful of our actions and how they affect those around us, we can start to build stronger, more authentic relationships. We can choose to listen, to own our mistakes, to appreciate others, and to let go of the need for constant drama. True strength comes not from being flawless, but from being willing to grow, to learn, and to show up for others with empathy and understanding. So let's choose to embrace our humanity, to connect with others from a place of openness, and to create a space where everyone, ourselves included, can thrive.